Everything you've been told about karma explains only half the story. People work tirelessly to clear past lives, attend karmic healing sessions, follow rituals meant to balance debts, but most of them never see results fast enough to matter. What you don't know is that there is a principle beyond karma, one that bypasses suffering entirely, one that renders repetition unnecessary once it is understood. If the world understood this, the entire system built around karmic management, the readings, the healing sessions, the past life regressions, would collapse overnight. Practitioners would realize that lessons can be completed without experience, that debts can dissolve not through punishment, but through awareness itself. This is why the teaching is almost never presented openly. It is a principle powerful enough to make conventional methods seem optional. Paramahansa Yogananda described this in ways seekers rarely grasp. He showed that insight, meditation, devotion, and self-realization activate a law that works inside consciousness, completing the lesson before the external cycle can even occur. A cruelty endured or inflicted in a past life can be reconciled without repeated suffering, not through escape, but through the depth of inner comprehension. Consider this. Some souls who caused immense pain in past lives now live blessed, harmonious lives. Others, equally sincere, struggle endlessly despite devotion and effort. The difference is awareness. Some lessons are still being experienced externally, others have been completed internally. And this principle is accessible to anyone who knows how to engage with consciousness directly. By the end of this video, you'll see why karma sometimes seems unfair, why some souls avoid repeated hardship, and how awareness itself can dissolve patterns that usually take lifetimes to resolve. You'll learn how to work with the law that governs life at its deepest level, a law so subtle that most teachings never reach it. You'll witness the power of transformation that does not require suffering, but instead activates mastery from within. Most spiritual teachings emphasize effort, repetition, and time. They present the path as a ladder. Climb slowly, one step after another, across lifetimes if necessary. Meditation must be daily, rituals repeated, lessons absorbed gradually. Progress is measured in patience, perseverance, and endurance. The system is clear, predictable, comforting. This is why it has endured for centuries. Slow paths reinforce commitment, maintain structure, and ensure continuity. Programs, sessions, and techniques thrive because transformation is framed as long and conditional. The longer the journey, the more engagement is required, and the more the system sustains itself. But Yogananda observed something the majority of seekers never see. Insight is not bound by duration. Some lessons can be completed in a single, profound moment of understanding. Some debts dissolve entirely when consciousness reaches depth. The trick is that these moments require focus, honesty, and inner surrender, not ritual repetition. Most people never encounter this because they are taught to chase experience rather than awareness. Think about it. How many people you know endlessly repeat patterns, attend sessions, read books, practice rituals, yet feel the cycle unresolved? Now imagine that same cycle could end without external intervention, without suffering, without waiting years or lifetimes. That is the hidden layer of spiritual law that few teachers reveal. It is not conspiratorial, it is practical. Systems work better when slow paths are emphasized because accelerated paths dissolve dependency and make repetition unnecessary. Yogananda's teachings consistently pointed to this. He showed that consciousness can complete the lesson faster than time itself. Meditation, devotion, and deep self-realization are not just practices for peace, they are the mechanisms through which awareness absorbs lessons fully. Where understanding is complete, repetition naturally stops. Where comprehension is shallow, the wheel continues to turn. Most seekers never reach this level because the path they are taught conditions them to rely on external experience, to chase results slowly. But once someone engages with the principle consciously, it becomes clear. The system is not broken, it is just operating at a different level. The rare knowledge is not hidden to keep people ignorant, it is rare because it requires maturity, focus, and readiness. Only those willing to observe patterns, embrace truth, and cultivate deep awareness can access it. By the end of this video, you'll understand not only why some souls appear to skip karma, but also why many well-intentioned seekers remain trapped in cycles that could dissolve in months or even moments if applied correctly. You'll begin to see the difference between learning through repetition and learning through awareness, and why the second method accelerates transformation beyond what most teachings even hint at. Paramahansa Yogananda was not a teacher who settled for ritual, repetition, or mechanical spirituality. He saw beyond ceremonies and mantras. He observed the patterns in human life, the cycles of suffering, and the ways people tried to escape repetition, yet kept falling into it. What he discovered disturbed conventional thinking, not because it was hidden, but because it made many methods redundant. He noticed that when consciousness awakens deeply, lessons that usually take decades, even lifetimes, could be completed internally. Pain, hardship, and karmic cycles were not always necessary for growth. Instead, awareness could absorb what experience was meant to teach. This realization challenged the assumptions that underlie most spiritual systems. Yogananda often spoke of the law of grace without naming it explicitly, describing moments when the inner lesson is complete before the outer test arrives. He showed that true realization does not wait for punishment, repetition, or consequence. Where awareness is mature, life's patterns shift automatically. Karma continues mechanically, where understanding has not yet emerged, but when comprehension is present, the cycles adjust and repetition dissolves. This was unsettling to many because it suggested that some widely accepted methods, endless past life healing sessions, karmic clearing techniques, and ritual-based practices are supplementary rather than essential. The implication is profound. The work of transformation can be accelerated beyond convention, but only through conscious alignment, honest observation, and deep internal work. Yogananda became the disturber because he revealed that the system responds to awareness. Completion can precede experience. Mastery of consciousness can render repetition unnecessary. This is a principle he demonstrated repeatedly in his teachings, and it challenges every assumption about how spiritual growth is supposed to unfold. He showed that understanding, fully embodied, is enough to satisfy the law. When this principle is applied, suffering ceases to be mandatory, patterns no longer dominate, and life unfolds according to insight rather than external consequence. Those who are ready experience acceleration. Those who are not continue along the slower traditional path. Through Yogananda, the audience begins to see a new possibility. Karma is not always the judge, and cycles are not always inevitable. There is a law operating at a higher resolution, a law that recognizes understanding over repetition. Yogananda's presence in spiritual history is destabilizing. It asks seekers to confront the depth of their awareness, to recognize that true completion comes from within, and that conventional structures exist for guidance, not necessity. The teaching is radical in its simplicity. Mastery of consciousness changes the way life unfolds. This is the first step toward realizing the law that transcends repeated cycles and allows acceleration without bypassing responsibility. Karma operates only where awareness has not fully absorbed the lesson. Every repeated cycle, every challenge life presents, exists to teach what consciousness has not yet grasped. When understanding is complete, repetition loses its function. This is the principle that transforms the way life unfolds. Yogananda revealed that lessons can be completed internally through meditation, devotion, and self-observation. A person whose past lives carried patterns of cruelty, selfishness, or betrayal may still appear to face hardship, but when consciousness absorbs the lesson, the external cycle shifts. Life flows effortlessly. Patterns that once demanded repetition vanish. The system responds automatically to mastery. One example, a soul who in a past life caused suffering may in the present live with harmony, prosperity, and balance. The lesson has been embodied. The world aligns with inner comprehension. Every relationship, circumstance, and challenge now reflects awareness, not punishment. This is not chance. It is an operational law. Consciousness completes what experience would otherwise enforce. Where understanding is present, cycles adjust. Where insight is absent, Repetition continues. Meditation, devotion, and self-realization become the tools through which awareness activates this higher law. For seekers who embrace this principle, life demonstrates transformation in real time. Patterns that once required lifetimes to unravel dissolve as understanding deepens. Awareness becomes the governing force. Mastery of consciousness rewrites the way karma manifests. The cycles, the repetition, the apparent inevitability, they all respond to depth of insight. Every accelerated transformation Yogananda described, every soul who moves swiftly beyond repeated hardship, follows this law. Completion happens within consciousness first, then life reflects the change. Those who perceive this principle see that karma is not random and life is not unfair. Cycles operate, but mastery allows life to flow according to awareness. Have you ever noticed how life appears inconsistent? Some people with a history of selfishness, cruelty, or deception seem to move through life with ease. Meanwhile, sincere, compassionate souls sometimes face prolonged difficulties. This apparent contradiction is not an error in the law, it is the reflection of levels of awareness. Yogananda observed these patterns carefully. He saw that karma is precise, mechanical, and predictable, but only where consciousness has not yet absorbed the lesson. When insight is fully embodied, the law recognizes completion. Life no longer needs to repeat the cycle. What appears to fail is the surface view of a system responding invisibly to inner mastery. For instance, consider a soul who across lifetimes created patterns of betrayal. By mechanical law, cycles of betrayal should continue. Yet when the soul reaches a depth of awareness through meditation, devotion, and self-reflection, the pattern dissolves. Repetition is no longer necessary because comprehension has already occurred internally. Life then unfolds smoothly, in alignment with understanding rather than consequence. In contrast, those who have not yet internalized the lesson continue to experience repetition. Suffering, obstacles, and challenges appear unavoidable. This is the visible side of karma in operation. Repetition maintains its function until awareness is complete. The difference between visible cycles and apparent exceptions is the depth of consciousness. Yogananda emphasized that this is not rare luck or random fortune, it is an operational principle. Some souls navigate life effortlessly because they have already internalized what life is teaching. Others labor under cycles that could dissolve if only comprehension was fully embraced. The visible inconsistencies in karma are evidence of different operational levels, not contradictions. Every challenge that appears unfair or repetitive is an invitation to awareness. Every ease and acceleration is a signal of completion. Life does not judge, it responds. The apparent failures or successes are reflections of consciousness, not randomness. Yogananda's insight allows seekers to see patterns clearly, recognize the depth at which cycles operate, and understand that mastery begins within before it manifests externally. This perspective changes everything. It reframes life from a system of external enforcement to a system of inner responsiveness. Karma continues as a teacher, but awareness accelerates the process. Completion within consciousness transforms the visible world. Patterns that once required repetition now respond instantly to understanding. This is why some seem to bypass hardship entirely. The lesson has been absorbed, and the system aligns with insight. Many spiritual practices assume that lessons must be experienced externally, that transformation requires repetition, and that karma can only be resolved through a series of corrective events. Meditation programs, past life readings, karmic clearing sessions, and ritual practices often operate on this premise. Mastery comes slowly, effortfully, and cumulatively. Yogananda's insight challenges this assumption. He observed that when consciousness reaches sufficient depth, lessons complete internally. External repetition is no longer necessary. Techniques designed to enforce gradual learning become supplementary rather than essential. They support growth, but they do not determine it. This understanding creates a subtle tension with the broader spiritual system. Many practices thrive because they operate on the visible, mechanical side of karma. People participate in cycles of clearing, repeating, and refining. trusting the process. Yet where awareness is profound, the same lessons are resolved in a single concentrated shift. The implication is profound. Accelerated mastery bypasses the need for prolonged intervention. The impact is structural. Systems built on repetition assume that experience must continue until understanding occurs. Yogananda revealed that internal comprehension alone fulfills the law. Completion in consciousness translates into visible life transformation. The cycles that appear inevitable for most are suspended for those whose awareness is complete. This does not diminish the value of effort, practice, or guidance. Meditation, devotion, and self-realization remain powerful tools, but their role changes. They become accelerators of understanding rather than strict enforcers of repetition. Where insight is embodied, the wheel of apparent karma aligns effortlessly with awareness. For those navigating life consciously, this is liberating. Patterns that once required repeated intervention dissolve naturally. Long-standing karmic challenges, generational patterns, and repetitive cycles respond to depth of comprehension rather than to continued practice alone. The law operates on a higher resolution, rewarding internal mastery with external harmony. This principle explains why some methods seem indispensable to many, while others appear unnecessary to those whose consciousness is fully awake. The observable world of spiritual industry reflects the mechanical side of the law. The unseen world of awareness reveals the law in motion at a higher frequency, where transformation occurs directly and repetition is no longer required. Yogananda's observation illuminates a key truth. Completion of the lesson within consciousness changes the system itself. Repetition continues only where mastery is absent. Techniques, readings, and sessions remain valuable, but awareness renders them supportive tools rather than mandatory steps. Karma is often misunderstood as punishment or judgment. Yogananda revealed its true nature. It is a precise, automatic response to action, a mechanism designed to educate, not condemn. Every experience, every repeated pattern exists to illuminate understanding. The law operates mechanically, yet purposefully, guiding the soul toward insight. Repetition is not a sentence, it is a function. A student learns by experiencing until comprehension emerges. Once the lesson is complete, the mechanism disengages. Karma recognizes mastery within consciousness, and the cycle adjusts. The world reflects this internal completion automatically, without external enforcement. Consider a person who in past lives misused power. In the absence of awareness, life aligns to teach vulnerability and humility. Repetition is the natural effect of incomplete understanding. When insight is embodied, these external cycles dissolve. The law does not punish, it responds. The lesson is acknowledged, and the system adapts. Graduation from repeated cycles occurs when mastery is visible in behavior, choices, and awareness. Karma does not judge effort, intention, or desire. It responds to the completion of understanding. The cycles continue until comprehension manifests. Where insight is present, the mechanism fulfills itself internally, allowing life to reflect harmony and alignment. This principle transforms the relationship with cause and effect. Life is no longer experienced as arbitrary reward or punishment. Instead, events act as mirrors, revealing lessons yet to be absorbed. The system continues to operate with precision, but its purpose is clarity and growth, not retribution. Yogananda emphasized that internal mastery activates change at the deepest level. The moment consciousness integrates the lesson, the mechanism responds. The cycles that once seemed inevitable now shift, revealing freedom previously hidden within structured repetition. Life becomes an expression of insight, not enforcement, and transformation flows naturally from understanding. This perspective allows seekers to see karma as a living mechanism, responsive to awareness and aligned with growth. Mastery of consciousness directs the cycles, demonstrating that life responds to depth of insight. Completion within changes everything externally. Grace operates as a higher frequency of karma. Where cycles of cause and effect continue for unabsorbed lessons, grace completes the lesson instantly through consciousness. Understanding manifests internally, and life aligns externally. The moment awareness integrates the principle, repetition dissolves and patterns shift. Yogananda described grace as the activation of insight before consequence. A soul who has carried patterns of greed or cruelty across lifetimes can recognize the origin of these patterns in meditation and reflection. Consciousness transforms the pattern, and life mirrors the shift immediately. The cycles that once required external experience are no longer necessary. One moment of true comprehension can dissolve patterns that would otherwise span lifetimes. One choice to embody kindness, one instant of genuine insight, can rewrite the trajectory of a life completely. Grace responds to depth of awareness. It is measured by consciousness, not by action or external repetition. Through meditation, devotion, and self-realization, awareness strengthens, activating this higher law. The soul completes the lesson from within, and the external world reflects mastery. Patterns of suffering, repetition, and limitation adjust automatically. Life becomes responsive to comprehension rather than circumstance. Every accelerated transformation that appears miraculous is a result of grace in action. Internal resolution precedes external change. Insight transforms the system before it enforces repetition. Karma continues as a mechanism, but grace operates as the force that fulfills, accelerates, and harmonizes the cycles of understanding. Yogananda observed patterns that repeated across lives, yet shifted dramatically when consciousness changed. Meditation, devotion, and self-realization acted as catalysts, accelerating transformation at a level invisible to the outside world. Internal shifts always preceded external release. A seeker committed to deep meditation and self-study could resolve patterns that had persisted for generations. Anger, attachment, fear, and limitation, once dominant, began to dissolve as consciousness absorbed the lessons. The moment understanding was embodied, life reflected the change. Relationships aligned, challenges softened, opportunities appeared effortlessly. These patterns were consistent across thousands of observations. Individuals who practiced genuine self-realization moved beyond repetition. Past habits and lifetimes of behavior no longer dictated current circumstances. The external world responded in real time to internal mastery. Yogananda taught that accelerated resolution relies on inner focus. Awareness acts as a lever. One soul, meditating daily and observing deeply, could neutralize cycles of resentment or attachment that had dictated experience across lifetimes. Another, devoted to service and selfless action, could transform karmic debts into opportunities for growth and contribution. Patterns once destined to repeat were completed through consciousness, not suffering. The observable world confirmed this principle repeatedly. Where inner work was consistent, life patterns adjusted immediately. Where insight remained shallow, repetition continued. These were not exceptions, they were proof of law operating at different frequencies. Mastery of consciousness always preceded the manifestation of grace externally. Every meditation, reflection, and devotional practice became a tool to activate the law of accelerated completion. Life cycles became responsive to depth of awareness. Patterns shifted without external enforcement. Generational habits, repetitive challenges, and inherited tendencies responded to insight rather than experience. Consciousness dictated outcomes before circumstances could enforce them. This demonstrates the principle at the core of Yogananda's teaching. Inner resolution precedes external release. Awareness is the switch. Mastery of consciousness changes everything that follows. Repetition exists only where comprehension has not yet manifested. Where insight operates fully, the world aligns with understanding, patterns dissolve, and grace accelerates life. Forgiveness functions as a point of disengagement within karmic mechanics. When emotional charge dissolves, motion ends. The system no longer receives a signal to continue the lesson, and repetition loses momentum. Resentment stores energy in memory. Memory feeds pattern. Pattern invites recurrence. As long as emotional attachment remains active, life continues arranging situations that resonate with that stored charge. Forgiveness releases the stored energy, allowing the pattern to complete internally. This release does not require dramatic expression, it requires clarity. When the nervous system no longer reacts to the memory, the lesson has been integrated. At that point, the system registers completion and reallocates experience toward new learning. Forgiveness changes the internal signal. The world responds to signal, not story. Once the signal stabilizes, external circumstances reorganize without effort. Relationships shift. Repeating conflicts lose traction. Familiar struggles stop presenting themselves. Yogananda consistently emphasized inner resolution as the true site of liberation. Forgiveness operates at that level. It restores coherence to awareness. When coherence returns, karmic structures dissolve because their function has been fulfilled. This principle extends beyond personal history. Family patterns, inherited emotional tendencies, and generational repetitions respond to the same mechanism. When one individual completes a lesson fully, the pattern loses its anchor and weakens across the system. Forgiveness ends motion by removing the charge that sustains it. Completion registers immediately. The system adjusts. Experience evolves. Most people remain inside familiar patterns because identity stabilizes around repetition. Experiences repeat in recognizable forms, and recognition creates comfort. Karma continues delivering lessons through life events when awareness remains external. Yogananda pointed out that grace activates only when observation turns inward. This requires sustained self-honesty. Thoughts, emotional reactions, motives, and unconscious habits must be seen clearly as they arise. This level of awareness reshapes identity from the inside. Many avoid this depth because it dissolves familiar self-images. Patterns continue when attention stays outward. Life circumstances carry the teaching forward until insight becomes embodied. Repetition persists as a function of delayed recognition. Awareness reorganizes experience the moment it deepens. Grace engages when understanding becomes lived reality. Meditation stabilizes attention. Devotion refines perception. Self-study aligns behavior with insight. These practices accelerate internal resolution, allowing lessons to complete without external reinforcement. When understanding settles into consciousness, life responds immediately. Situations reorganize, emotional charges dissolve, behavioral loops lose momentum. The system recognizes completion and disengages repetition. Yogananda emphasized that transformation unfolds through conscious participation. Awareness restructures experience. Responsibility becomes internal. Completion emerges naturally when insight governs action. Understanding alone does not dissolve repetition. Insight becomes operational when it is embodied. Internalized comprehension signals completion to the system. Life responds to embodiment rather than intellectual acknowledgement. Many attempt acceleration through concepts, prayers, or declarations. These activities do not reorganize consciousness, they create awareness without integration. The law of grace activates only when understanding permeates thought, feeling, and action. The body, mind, and energy field must all register the lesson as complete. Yogananda emphasized that embodiment precedes resolution. Consciousness transforms, and life mirrors this transformation. Repetition ceases automatically when the system recognizes mastery. Embodied insight overrides the need for external enforcement. Every habitual pattern responds to integration. Emotional attachment, unobserved behavior, and unconscious tendencies continue external repetition until they are fully absorbed into awareness. The system measures completion through alignment, not intention. Practical engagement, meditation, reflection, devotion, service, activates embodiment. Awareness becomes operational. Insight moves from thought into action, observation into behavior. The system adjusts, cycles end, and life reorganizes to reflect mastery. This is the mechanism that separates understanding from completion. True transformation signals the law of grace. Life responds directly. Patterns that once required external enforcement adjust immediately when comprehension is embodied. Christ consciousness represents the same realization Yogananda emphasized, mastery of awareness that completes lessons internally. It functions as a higher operational law, activating grace across every pattern and experience. Awareness fulfills law rather than relying on external repetition or circumstance. Every action, every pattern, every karmic sequence is observed from consciousness. Understanding transforms energy. Insight becomes operative. Life responds instantly. The system recognizes mastery, and cycles adjust. The principle is consistent, measurable, and repeatable. Yogananda drew parallels between deep realization and the embodiment of Christ consciousness. Both operate as demonstration of internal mastery over cycles of cause and effect. Every lesson that karma would enforce externally is completed internally. The external world aligns with this completion naturally. This alignment does not require ritual or declaration. It requires depth of perception, integration of experience, and embodiment of insight. Awareness becomes the operative tool. Consciousness fulfills the law, transforming circumstance and dissolving repetition. Patterns across time, lineage, and life experience respond to this alignment. Internal mastery establishes coherence that flows outward. Relationships adjust, challenges reorganize, opportunities manifest. The system recognizes completion without external enforcement. Christ consciousness, as Yogananda presented it, is not theological, it is operational. It demonstrates the principle that higher awareness completes law. It activates grace, accelerates learning, and transforms experience. Completion occurs through integration, observation, and embodiment. Every soul capable of this alignment experiences transformation before external circumstance enforces lessons. Awareness becomes the tool that regulates cycles. Mastery of consciousness activates grace as a functional principle. Patterns of karma often extend across generations. Behaviors, tendencies, and unconscious habits move through family lines, not as punishment but as energy in motion. Yogananda observed that one individual's inner resolution can disrupt this motion, recalibrating the system entirely. When a soul integrates understanding deeply, completes lessons consciously, and embodies transformation, the energy that once perpetuated cycles adjusts. Children, parents, and extended lineage experience immediate shifts, not through enforcement, but because the system responds to coherence in consciousness. One moment of genuine insight can create effects that ripple across generations. Repeated tendencies, inherited trauma, and habitual responses diminish naturally. The system aligns with mastery. Life reflects transformation. Patterns that might have continued for lifetimes are neutralized because one node awakens fully. Yogananda emphasized that generational disruption is a natural consequence of conscious mastery. Internal completion propagates externally. One fully resolved soul sets the stage for entire lineages to experience grace. Life reorganizes effortlessly around awareness, demonstrating the exponential power of consciousness. The principles Yogananda teaches apply to you directly. Every observer of their own mind, every practitioner of meditation, self-reflection, and devotion can complete lessons internally. Suffering is a tool for instruction, not an inevitable requirement. You can observe, embody, and integrate understanding, allowing the system to recognize mastery and adjust life circumstances. Every choice you make in attention, reflection, and response activates cycles. Every moment becomes an opportunity to complete patterns internally. Awareness becomes the operative instrument, transforming repetition into acceleration. Mastery begins with observation, deep understanding, and embodied action. Karma and grace are the same intelligence operating at different frequencies. Where consciousness completes the lesson, grace activates. Where comprehension is incomplete, karma continues its function. Freedom is closer than assumed. Completion is immediate when insight is fully embodied. One genuine understanding, one fully integrated practice of forgiveness, one committed moment of self-realization can dissolve cycles that once spanned generations. Yogananda's teachings demonstrate that life is responsive to consciousness. The law of cause and effect is not abandoned, it is fulfilled internally. Patterns that once required repetition now adjust naturally. Insight becomes operational. Life reflects mastery. Completion is available in every moment. Every decision, every act of observation, every practice of meditation, devotion or self-study is a step toward accelerated resolution. Lessons complete internally, patterns dissolve externally, lineages shift, life transforms. Grace is the natural consequence of embodied understanding. The system functions when comprehension is complete. Completion ends repetition. Awareness activates the law. Transformation is immediate, observable, and permanent.